Well guys, welcome back. I brought the truck in yesterday, pulled the cab, and now have a good look at it. I decided to lift the cab because I had a number of issues I wanted to fix. One of them I mentioned earlier was the nasty valve cover. I used auto body filler, and as you see, it doesn't do well with the heat. Also, the truck was rubbing on the never a good thing. And it was leaking a bit of oil, and I found not only an oil leak but a bit of coolant. It was leaking a slight bit of coolant as well, but I could never figure out from where. So I found that. Also, it's rolling a bit of coal. So when I find out, I'll let you know. But here it is. I took the cover off the turbo and I found an exhaust leak there. Anyway, we'll investigate that. The oil pump, or sorry, the water pump is also leaking. It's dry, like it's intermittent, which really had me confused for a while. Where is the water or the coolant going? But you can see evidence of it. It stopped leaking in the last month or so, but I ordered a new water pump anyway, so we'll change it out. And then I've got a good core to rebuild. Also, I'm going to adjust this tensioner. It's got too much tension on, so it's wearing the belts out prematurely. I'm only getting maybe 4,000 to 5,000 miles out of a set of belts, and then they need to be changed. So I'll fix that. Give it a tune-up and find out why it's rolling coal. I don't know why yet, but we'll figure it out. There's a good look at the engine with the cab off. You can tell this is exhaust has been leaking for some time. So I did see that before, but it's a major job, of course, to start digging into this stuff. Considering the cab comes up to here. Yeah, right where my hand is there, that's where the cab sits, and you can't get your hands in there. So one of the downfalls of putting this engine in a modern Ford. Other than that, it's fantastic. But honestly guys, it only takes an hour. Oh, and there's a good look at the bypass as well. So I suspect that's my issue, but I hooked a gauge up to that and it seems to be working normally, so it may not be the problem. But I will take it off and test it, make sure it's functioning correctly. But as I was saying, it takes me an hour in anger to get this cab up, and if I take my time, and it takes me an hour and a half. So really, an hour and a half to take it up and an hour and a half to put it down, and then I get to really inspect things. So I think it's worth it. This should be the last cab lift for the foreseeable future. I took the cab up about at 4,000. It's got 16,000 miles on it. So at 12,000 miles ago, I lifted the cab to do a inspection tune-up. I found a few issues, fixed those, and this time I'm fixing the last of the issues I've got. Well, we found the problem. It's the bypass valve. That's the blower bypass valve I made. There's a 2-inch pipe out to the other side of the air box, and at 16 psi, that air box pressure, that opens, and that equates to about 10 psi boost pressure. That opens and bypasses the blower, so it frees up another, well, I don't know, about another 8 or 9 horse, maybe even 10 horsepower driving this blower. I took the cover off the blower just to make sure, you know, I wanted to make sure there's nothing wrong with it, because I thought I saw pixie dust in the exhaust. But I rotated that through, it's dry, and the seals are all good in it, and so I can rule that out as the cause. So I'll bring you over to the blower bypass. Pardon the mess, I kind of have to put everything inside because the thieves are they're at work stealing stuff, so I have to keep it in the shop. Anyway, here's the bypass valve. It only lasted 16,000 miles. Oh, actually with the other engine it was another, so about 17,000 miles, and she's block solid. This valve is closed. It will not open. I put 40 psi to it, and it doesn't budge. So I'll try to set it down here. Well, let's hope you can see that. So we're going to add the air. This is 40 psi. See, nothing. All I can hear is this bit of spring noise. So I'm 100%, almost 100% sure that that's what the culprit is. But nonetheless, I'm going to go through and just have a good look at everything and make sure it's nothing else, but pretty darn sure this is it. So again, this has been in the truck for 17,000 miles. A lot of it's been winter weather, like last winter we just had here. So maybe the salt, you know, got in this breather I set up. Anyway, we'll take it apart and see. I think the shaft is frozen solid. Anyway. All right, I figured out what the culprit was. And it's simply the 2 Allen keys were loose on the shaft. This was able to go up and down, but the shaft stayed put with the airbox pressure. So that's why. So I'll repair that and use Loctite on these Allen keys, and that'll fix that. And there's the 2 spring sets that get compressed in here against this. So that's what keeps this down. These 2 springs. These happen to be 16 psi. There's a 6 and a 10. And together, so a little bit of diagnostics for that. Now, of course, the cab didn't have to come off for that, but I do have quite a bit of work to do on the valve cover and set the fuel modulator. I'll bring you along for that. There's been a lot of questions about I'll bring you along for that. And The fuel modulator is operated from airbox pressure, and it's this unit right here. So I'm going to go through adjusting that for you. And I'm setting this engine up to California specs, so it won't roll any coal, period. It's got a slight bit of haze before 5 psi. And I'm going to set it so there's no haze at all, and it's just clean. What else was I going to do? Yeah, so we'll set the fuel modulator, and I'm going to put the governor back to 2500 RPM, max RPM, instead of 3000. There's no gain in 3000. It shifts at 2450 anyway, and unless I manually keep it in a gear, there's no way it goes past 2450. The transmission's programmed to shift it, so it's useless going up to 3000. I don't see any advantage trying to run this thing at 3000 RPM. So we'll do another tune-up on this engine. I'll bring you along, show you that fuel modulator and the governor, how to set the high-speed governor, and the low speed as well. We'll do that. Well, again, guys, thanks a lot for watching, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care.